Okay, let's get started then. Hello and welcome to another Kleros community call. Today is, what date is today, Jim? It is 21st of February, and well, this is one of the calls we do in open Twitter spaces so we can reach a wider public. We typically do our calls weekly at 6 p.m. UTC on Telegram, but well, sometimes it's nice to speak to a wider audience, and especially because this week we have a very cool thing to present or to to to, to mention is that we have been invited. I mean, I have been last week participating at an incredibly interesting conference called the World Govt Summit. This is a conference that is organized yearly by the government, the Prime Minister Office of Dubai, and it's an invite-only conference of very, very high level. And well, they try to gather important audience of people working in the public sector of different well countries. It's a very, very, very high level conference for people working in government. So, for example, they had as speakers the Prime Minister of India, they had Tony Blair, they had Erdogan from Turkey, they had, well, lots of different world leaders from different countries, and also people coming from the private sector. Sam Altman, for example, was there. He was remotely, but he had a panel there. Then CEO of Airbus and Tucker Carlson. So lots of very interesting people, and we were proud to be invited by the Dubai government to a particular exhibit that takes place within that conference that is called the Edge of Government. So the goal of that conference is try to gather people who are innovating in different elements about well, public affairs and governance, and this exhibit is invite also only event where they selected like 8 projects from different parts of the world to have a place here in a very nice room with a very nice technology screens and things like that, and then they get you people to whom you can pitch your project. So I was standing basically on like a booth more or less, and I had people coming to learn about Kleros. So there was like a 1 minute or 2 minute pitch to each of the participants, and this included like heads of state. It included, for example, like cabinet members and ministers, secretaries, private sector leaders, NGOs. So it was an amazing place to be able to explain Kleros and how it can be used as a tool for justice inclusion and justice innovation, in particular in the type of use cases that they are more interested in that setting, which is more consumer law, consumer claims, small claims courts. So as you know, one of the problems the governments have is justice systems tend to be cluttered. There's a lot of backlog. There is high cost, slow processes. So there is lots of interest in alternative dispute resolution methodologies in order to try to make the system flow smoother for citizens and for government officials and for everyone who's involved. So we were invited in that vein in order to present our project, and had extremely interesting conversations with different leaders from different countries who potentially might be interested in working with us in order to try to help them improve their parts of their justice system. This is in connection, as you know, to the work we have been doing recently with an exchange from Argentina called Lemon, which is a very important exchange. I think they have over 2 million customers, and they have lots of claims that happen between the exchange and the customers, and Kleros is helping resolve those disputes that happen there. So when the exchange has some customer has a claim to the exchange because she was charged for something he didn't buy, or the type of disputes you may have with your bank or your like fintech company, and then the customer service denies the claim, and so the customer now has like two options. One option maybe just go to small claims court and see what happens, or just complain in social media against the company. So in this way, the way in which we are working with Lemon, and which is quite straightforward to reproduce into other potential companies in consumer disputes, is that they offer customers who are have a negative decision by the customer service. They offer them to go to a neutral third party, which is Kleros, and the exchange then commits to pledges to accept the decision made by Kleros as binding. And so if the Kleros rules in favor of the customer, so the exchange will reimburse the person what it's claiming. If Kleros rules in favor of the exchange, the customer can still go to small claims court. This doesn't take anything from them, so it's just one more step. So this is a type of way in which we are now thinking about these types of small claims. And another big news to mention from the last month is something that happened in Mexico. In particular, the Congress of Mexico passed a law called Ley General de Solución de Controversias, Mecanismos Alternativos de Controversias. Sorry, it's a bit of a mouthful. And this law is about a new framework for dispute resolution in Mexico. So it tries to bring a number of new technologies to the table so they can be used to increase the speed and the efficiency of the Mexican court system. And they mentioned automated systems, and on top of that, they also mentioned decentralized justice. That is, as you know, the approach that Kleros has been pioneering for a while. And so this means that decentralized justice systems now have legal status within the Mexican context. And this is going, we think, to open lots of opportunities to implement Kleros into a number of dispute resolution processes, both in private companies and also maybe, why not, in government. I'm going to be, if you are from Mexico, I'm going to be there on the week of 11th of March for a couple of events. So the main event in which I'm going to participate is called Legal Tech Forum 2024, organized by a very big company, telecommunications company from Spain, but very important in Latin America, which is called Telefónica. And they invited a number of relevant people from the world of legal tech, people who are entrepreneurs, professors, and public leaders and all that. And so it will be a quite interesting event in front of, we'll be able to present Kleros in front of a very nice audience of people who work on consumer companies that could potentially be interested in testing Kleros and piloting Kleros in some type of scenario, as I mentioned, that we have been working with Lemon. On top of that, on the 14th of March, as I am in Mexico, we are going to have a Kleros event in a place called Espacio Nativo, which is a very nice co-working, very groovy space in order to make a presentation of Kleros to all of the legal tech community from Mexico City. And Also to engage with the people who have been working with the new law of dispute resolution. So we have invited as a speaker one of the lawyers who have been who drafted that piece of legislation. So they're going to be there. We already had Twitter Spaces last week, or was more like 2 weeks ago, with Joel Gomez, who is the lawyer who basically, let's say, pushed the use of decentralized justice into this law. So I think the recording is going to be, if you haven't been on the Spaces, it's in Spanish also. It's going to be available soon for anyone to listen. So, and this is super interesting because it gives you the context of what is this law, why that law was sanctioned, why they why they thought it was worthwhile to have decentralized justice systems, and what we can expect in the future from this new piece of legislation that gives legal status for the first time in the world to Kleros through the concept of decentralized justice. So super exciting week in Mexico coming soon. And also we try to meet a number of government officials and ideally also private sector leaders, particularly in companies that could potentially work with us in dispute resolution for consumer. Okay, so that's a bit of two big things that happened in recent days. I will now maybe let William give some update, so I don't speak all the time myself. Yeah. Well, hi, William.
I believe William could not accept the invite yet. But Marcos, meanwhile, Marcos.
Okay, let's go with Marcos then, the business development. Oh, you're there, William.
Okay.
Hey.
Can people hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with William and then it's fine.
Great. Thanks. So people have heard me give this spiel in previous calls. I'm still continuing this kind of research, but I'm continuing to think a lot about the voting systems from the peer prediction literature and how they could eventually be incorporated into Kleros. So for those of you who aren't aware and haven't followed the development of Kleros 2.0, Kleros 2.0 is designed to be modular and to have different kinds of voting systems that can be added over time. And in the sort of initial release of Kleros 2.0 that we anticipate, we're just going to have the sort of same voting system we have in version 1.0. This sort of plurality voting, you vote for one thing, and then the option with the most votes wins. But then we anticipate over time that we'll add other voting systems, that we or in the future other people based on future research can add different kinds of voting systems. And we've done a lot of research over the past few years that you can read in the Kleros Yellow Paper and in various talks and blog posts we've given about voting systems that are appropriate for sort of the highest level of appeal courts that are designed to be really attack resistant to 51% attacks and large scale bribes. And that's sort of the second priority for the next voting module that you would anticipate seeing in Kleros 2.0. But then once you have that, there are sort of interesting questions about if there are other better voting system and payoff sort of incentive systems that for first round cases and sort of early round disputes, because there a 51% attack is less of an immediate concern. So maybe you can trade off some resistance to sort of those kinds of attacks for other properties. And there's this wealth of research in the peer prediction literature, which is this sort of academic field that considers certain types of voting schemes. Where their voting rules aren't often very resistant to sort of big attacks, in that you sort of for example, their voting rules that pick out a winner that's kind of surprisingly popular, where people will submit a choice they think should win, and then they'll vote about how other people will rank the other choices, and those kinds of voting rules can allow you to pick out choices that you can be incentivized to vote your conscience and what you think was actually going to win, even if you think the majority of people will disagree with you. which can, like an informed minority can give information. But then there's like the obvious like attack where someone can pretend to be an informed minority, but actually there's some kind of attacker that's trying to manipulate your system. But in the future, we can use this in maybe like the first round. We can get people to vote their conscience, like the sort of community consensus is developing, and then like in like a higher level, you can like default back to a more attack resistance game. So I've been thinking a lot about how to make those kinds of things Kleros-like and how they can be adapted to Kleros 2.0.
Thank you, William. Also to mention a bit more, I mean, I said this before, but so to give more context, different use cases sometimes require like different mechanisms, or more than mechanism, more different features of how the court should work, because of preferences of different industries or preferences of different customers. For example, some customers want to have a one person, one vote courts because they think it's important in their use case. So this is, well, a bit of why we, in the beginning, we developed also proof of humanity and to provide this anti-civil system, so we can make sure that each person has only controls one account, and this is important for this one person, one vote systems. Well, other use cases require, for example, that jurors don't just give a yes or no answer, but maybe they give an answer about how much should the compensation be to the policy holders in an insurance contract. And so there you have different parties claiming different amounts, and well, jurors could put a value on that. This I imagine we have developed some of this in the world of insurance for personal injuries. We have actually even done a pilot about that. This can potentially become very important in IP claims in a world of, well, you have seen the New York Times OpenAI's lawsuit because these generative models use data which is proprietary to train the data sets, and they use parts of work done by different artists, or they take articles from the New York Times, and that is protected by some copyright law. So it happens that sometimes it's necessary to put some dollar value into, well, how much was the damage done to the patent, or not patent, more like copyright holder. So this is something that is a use case that will be enabled after we start launching the new models of the Kleros 2.0. And then other important feature that comes with the Kleros 2.0, it's going to be built on a rollup, which is going to be way cheaper. And as I mentioned, we are focusing a lot on well, consumer claims, and these are claims that are worth like $200, $300. So you cannot have a system which is very expensive. So and that's why in the very early days it was a bit frustrating, because we wanted to pitch Kleros to consumer companies, and the problem is that like transactions in Ethereum mainnet costed like I don't know $40 each, and the claim to solve was 100. So it was super expensive, and more expensive than traditional, dispute resolution systems. So that's going to, go away with Kleros 2.0, because it's going to be so way cheaper. So I'm not going to go into much more detail, because there is talk that Jim can share. I gave at the ARPTech community about Kleros 2.0. Why? So why it's different from the first version, and why we can be excited about it, and how it could potentially scale up the amount of cases to, hopefully, 1 billion at least. That was the name of the article. Kleros 2.0 scaling from I think 1,000 to 1 billion cases. So yeah, that's where we're trying to go. So thank you, William. All of this is the research that happened in the. I think, William, you could mention about the article on SBTs and the very nice endorsement you had by a very important figure in the ecosystem.
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of research on SBTs and how they could potentially be used in juror selection, sort of weighting the random juror choices, and then like random which jurors you pick for your random selection by like if they have certain types of SPTs. I encourage you all to read this article. We published it a couple of weeks ago on the blog, and this work really draws off a lot of the sort of work around like these ideas of decentralized society, which are being pioneered by Glenn Weil and a sort of group of people around him. So Glenn Weil read the article and thought it had like interesting comments and sort of like feedback that I'm thinking about as I continue to research these ideas. So it's good to get that sort of validation.
I mean, William is not going to say because he's very humble. I'm going to say it for him. I think what Glenn Weil tweet was about this is one of the most exciting things I've read in a while in Web3. I mean, something like that. So we can check that, but you can check on Glenn Weil's timeline to check. It was something like that. So yeah, thank you, William. And yeah, now let's go to Marcos.
Hey. So we have some updates from the BD side. In first place, well, this week we have a few important events. The first one was today, when Wang Mian hosted spaces with the project Q. Then we're going to have another Twitter spaces with Noves, the project the integration we have been talking about the last weeks. This one is going to be hosted by Akhil or Jin, and it's going to be this week. We still don't know well the day it's going to be done, but well, I think Jin will publish this information in Telegram and Twitter. And then next week we're going to be attending to IF Mendoza. Mendoza is a province in Argentina. There's going to be an important event. Actually, it's Ethereum Argentina, and we are going to be doing a presentation about Kleros, explaining what's Kleros and how works the integration we have with Lemon, what was Federico mentioning before. And we are going to be having a workshop where the guys that are going to be attending to the workshop will have the experience of being a juror there. And then about new integrations, or not new integrations, but we are in the works with these projects. In first place, we have Nili, that it's a project that we have been talking with them for the last almost year, and they have relaunched their project to a prediction market and are interested in using Kleros Oracle. And then we have OtterScan, where their token list is now merged into their repo. I think those are the most. Oh, sorry. And one last thing is that this week we announced the finalists of the Founders Bootcamp. The winners were NFT Protect and Nebula. And well, the winner is going to be decided after a one-on-one call on next Monday. So we will have new updates next Wednesday. So that's all from the B side.
Thank you, Marco. So these are very cool projects. All of the projects that applied that were quite cool. These were more advanced. One of them, NFT Protect, is to help users avoid, losing their NFTs to hacks and events like that. And Nebula is an insurance protocol to protect and give insurance to people. I mean, digital nomads and people working for DAOs. I thought about that for a while, and because you have people who work for DAOs, and I mean, if you work in a traditional company, you have health insurance. But what if working a DAO? I mean, DAOs would give health insurance to their members, right? I mean, could be like if you want, you can see it as private company giving insurance to workers, but you could also see this more or less like a government giving, I don't know, healthcare to citizens, depending on how you want to imagine that. How do you want to consider DAOs? If more like in corporate structures, or more like countries, basically. So next week we will have the winner of the bootcamp. So that was one other important news. Today I'm going to as always, keep spreading the word of decentralized justice. I'm going to be at the University of Ethereum in a presentation happening on their Discord, but it's going to be streamed on YouTube. So you can watch me there. It's going to be, I think it's going to be like at 4 p.m. or 3 p.m. San Francisco time. So if you want to come, you can sign up. It's on the Twitter now, so you can see it and apply to sign up to come. Tomorrow we start the Kleros expansion in Nigeria. There's going to be I'm going to give a talk at the Nigerian Bar Association to start spreading the word of Kleros in Nigeria. We have already done in the early days a conference, online webinar in Africa. It was organized by people from Nigeria and Uganda. And now that we have team members who are from Nigeria, we can, come again to move forward with this. I don't know, Shari, if you want to say something. Shari is our team member from Nigeria, and he's our man on the ground. Do you want to say something, anything, Shari, about Kleros, Nigeria, and the future?
Just sent him the request. Let's see if he can answer.
Okay, I can continue a bit more, and then when he's okay, he can speak. So Nigeria is coming. Then we will have, as I mentioned already, Mexico. We are already starting to do some activities in Colombia. Blockchains are very good for emerging economies because they can bring rule of law and digital certainty to situations that don't always have good governance. And I told many times how I started and why I got interested in this. And to me, it was a way to enable people from Argentina, or a poor guy from Argentina like me. I imagine if he could now start to be integrated into the world economy and have customers in different countries, having his fate in life more determined by what he can do than what he where he was lucky or not lucky to be born. That's why I'm so excited about all of the use cases that come from Africa, from South America. This is Southeast Asia, everywhere. But these are those that to me resonate more because those are more close to what was my motivation in the very early days. Trying to give everyone opportunity to access the world economy. So we have all of these activities coming. We have, maybe Juan, do you want to say something about the Treasury report that was published this week? I don't know, Shari, can you speak? Or do you want to speak, Shari, or no? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Shari, that's all
Hi
with you.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Sharon from Nigeria, and I am very excited to say the least about, the Kleros in Nigeria movement. Everyone at Kleros should be excited for this is not just a Nigerian movement. At the very least, it's a geographical expansion into one of the biggest Web3 communities in the world. So Nigeria is currently the second largest, upcoming crypto country, and so building a brand presence here is, to say the least, is going to be a very huge move and a step in the right direction for Kleros and the entire community at large. So we have some webinars coming up, like Fed has mentioned. We have one tomorrow with the NBA, that's the Nigerian Bar Association, and I think that's by 1 p.m. UTC. So you guys could, I wish someone could pin it up here just in case anyone was interested in that. And we should also have one with the young lawyers, with much younger lawyers. So the NBA is the huge association of the entire bar, senior lawyers and all that. We're also looking at targeting younger lawyers that are more tech savvy, that are more, enthusiastic about, you know, integrations and uh, developments like this, revolutionizing the tech space in our country. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. And then over time, we'll be updating you. I on this end will be trying to be doing some groundwork by attending several, RL events. We usually occasionally have Web3 blockchain tech events that, just coming in to represent Kleros could at least build Claros's brand presence here, and I truly believe is the start of a very great thing for Claros. And I'm always enthusiastic to speak about this. So if anybody wants any lead or any detail, about this, can contact Fed or contact I, and be glad to give you guys update on Nigeria and geographical expansion in general, like Fed has said. But yeah.
Thank you, Shari. So, yeah, Africa, here we go. Also, maybe worth mentioning something that happened. I mean, like yesterday, get a LinkedIn message by professor the University of Miami, I think it was, and he tells me that he invites me to speak at his class, and he tells me that he has been teaching Kleros for discussing Kleros with students like for the past 4 years. So we have lots of different, I guess, PR people in different places that you don't even know. And yeah, I mean, this one is Miami. Well, of course, I accepted the invitation, which was great, and we also will have Jan, who is one of our PhD researchers, and he's going to go. I mean, he's now at Stanford. He's doing his PhD at the Paris 2 at Assas, which is one of the top law schools in France, and he's doing a research stay at Stanford, Codex Center for Legal Informatics, and so he will give a Kleros workshop at the University of Miami. I cannot invite you because it's not going to be open for for the general audience, but yeah, so for you to know that we have a lot of different, I mean, what was comforting because to know that there's people we don't even know. I mean, and we get more and more people, I mean, coming to say that they teach about Kleros. For example, when I was at the World Govt Summit, I met one of the, I mean, Tariq, who is one of the participants of our Kleros Fellowship of this edition, and he's a startup executive and based on Bahrain, and well, he was there in Dubai, and I got to meet him. He's doing some very cool research about the use of Kleros for like kind of trials where nature is like one of the parties involved, and it's about environmental issues. So yeah, and Tariq was in the conference, and so we have this little army of people going around and speaking in places and teaching about Kleros everywhere, which is I mean spreading the word everywhere. So that was very cool to see in the World Govt Summit. Well, let's go to now. Juan, can you speak now?
Yep, sure. Hey everyone, and yep, as Fede mentioned, and she also did. Last week we released the monthly reports, like our treasury. We have been done this doing these reports all over 2023, but internally, the main reasoning behind it is, yeah, we just want people like to focus on the core segments, but we have, yeah, doing all the reports and the internal follow up and the risk management in our treasury. And okay, since I entered at least these reports, and the idea is like from now on there will be monthly reports that will be available at Kleros.io/treasuries. Where you can see the current state of Kleros portfolio, and you can see stuff like key performance indicators such as and monthly burn rate, total runway, segregation of assets, like our actual strategies, the market APYs, and yeah, obviously there is a whole reasoning behind it, and basically given by a subjective and internal risk adjusted yield framework. And yeah, we are like answering all the questions like from the community you may have on different assets, strategies, why we do this, why we don't do this, etc. Is basically an if and not token portfolio with some small allocation to stables. And yep, any question you may have, you can ask here or in the chat itself. You will be able to see the evolution by month. You are already able to see the evolution of the whole 2023 portfolio. That's pretty great. And yeah, that being said, all positions or movements you will be able to depict like by taking a look into the next month report. And yeah, just want to thank Marina and Plinio that helped me with the report itself and Shin to publishing publications. And yeah, we have some great protocols like aligned and also like yeah. Uh, Talking about the reports we made. So yeah, pretty happy. And yeah, any question open to answer here or by Telegram or by DM as you wish.
I think, I think you raised the bar for everyone now. Like now, every community will ask the project, oh, why don't you do the treasury report like Kleros? So yeah, people will hate you maybe. I guess. Now, hopefully, hopefully this brings more transparency to the whole ecosystem. So yeah.
Okay.
I have
Yeah,
a,
yeah, yeah.
I have an anecdote that I want to share because I think it's very hard to appreciate what Lemante and Juan are doing because of course not everyone knows about DeFi and there's so many protocols and so many strategies that people can implement. But I just want to share that when I learn about a strategy that I think I didn't hear before, I always share with Juan or maybe a new protocol that I think it will be big. And Juan says, okay, we already reviewed this. We already have a risk framework for this. We already met the founders or something like that. It's pretty impressive. So it's really cool that we are able to share to share this and maybe other people can learn about our strategy, comment on it. And yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Jim. And yeah, as you mentioned, like every like new strategy opportunity that you want to share, like and explore with us, like open to hear about it. And we generally try to keep updated, like with 90% of the projects that we have the chance, like to do it. But yeah, obviously we may miss something. So yeah, uh, everyone that want to contribute can do it in the Telegram group, in the forum, as you wish. And yep, thanks Jim for the kind words and Fede also.
Yeah, so also for people to see, there's a lot of work done in the shadows that people don't see because it's not facing the public. But yeah, this treasury, other of the activities we do like a lot, and you cannot see this in everyday, community calls. Is that recruiting? For example, we just onboarded the last few months like half a dozen new developers, and this is going to result in a way faster development time. The problem we had before, and that caused a bit of delays, is we were a bit short-handed in development resources. So we had different products, and well, of course, the Code 2.0 is our key product, but then we had other things to maintain, like curate. We had like the escrow, and so now we are developing V2 with faster because with more resources, and also we can use also resources to develop other products such as Proof of Humanity 2.0 that is going to come, and it's important because of everything I already mentioned about one person one vote and anti-civil and all that. We are working on a new version of Curate. We are working on a new version of the escrow. There's a lot of things under the hood that are happening, and also this requires infrastructure work. By the way, if you know good infrastructure developers, we are recruiting. So please send your CV. So yeah, lots of things, including treasury management, happening in the on the
Fede,
side.
I have a very quick comment about hiring. It's
Yeah.
much easier to retain existing employees. And in terms of the recruitment, it was also a bear market conditions. Now, more people are flushed with money. It's not that it's easy to attract the top talent. And yeah, I was actually thinking, you are talking about Kleros 2.0. I'm thinking about Kleros Web 2.0 because actually we don't need to have a blockchain. And as I was pitching my project BaseX to the customers, talking about blockchain was seen as something negative. So I'm actually genuinely thinking about doing Kleros 2.0, but not your 2.0, but Web 2.0. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Uh, it's funny that you mentioned that because this is something that happened in the World Government Summit. So I had to pitch Kleros to I said 200 people, let's say, and some of them were like coming from more technology oriented world. Others came from the world of government and they had no idea of technology. So I had to adapt on how I pitch Kleros to different audiences. And one of the pitches I made for people who came not from the world of technology. So now you have like trials and you have to sort of dispute with judges. So imagine if you could have citizens being jurors from their mobile phones and resolving cases. And that
Fede, Fede, it is possible. I was actually working on a hackathon project called World Voting, and yeah, people with the devices voting. And I was using, it was a hackathon project. It was using, Google and Firebase. It wasn't fully blockchain, but I realized that if I want to make it super accessible, I don't want people to jump through the hoops. So I think we are on the same lines. Like I think that we are agree in principle that this is where this is the trend. And yeah, I can totally imagine 8 billion people unified in a single moment. For example, opening on the Olympics, Paris 24. That's a great moment to instill peace in the humanity.
Imagine, people voting from their phones for example, what do you call this? Jumping, in the swimming pool or a gym. They have to point to have the
Gymnastics, yeah,
yeah,
voting by
gymnastics.
jurors,
Yeah, right.
subjective, yeah.
I mean, this is a good question for William. William, you have like gymnastics. Could you have jurors um, decide on a selling point of what they think other jurors are going to put as a score for the exercise? Why yes and why no? It's not a good idea.
I mean, yeah, you can use the same sort of numerical outcome like voting rules that we currently have. So like the sort of like the setting, I think is not particularly challenging. There's some clear set of rules that judges in those kinds of cases, like the judges in the Olympics follow to get their scores. You need people to be like online and voting in real time, so you need like a readily available community of people. Ultimately, like
Excuse
I
me,
feel.
William. Short. I need to stop you. Not readily able army of people, but it can be Uber. Like we literally put money on the line, and $1 is big enough for someone to spend 1 minute. So we do not
Mhm.
need to have army. And I would be very good chief red team and hacker officer because some of your rabbit holes are too deep. Like you need to have a team around you of researchers who will challenge your thinking process. And yeah, in terms of this Keynesian beauty contest, who will think of what? Yeah, it is a problem with, for example, war on drugs. Like I am officially using cannabis. I am in many places where cannabis is legal, but being associated with drugs is still negative in many jurisdictions. So there is this social desirability bias. So even in London, say 60% openly admit cannabis should be legal. If we removed this worry of what will people think, if we encourage people to be truthful, I think it's with the benefit for Kleros, for humanity. Let people think what they really think. And then maybe second question, what do you think is a fair outcome? We can make a very good questions. We can run some experiments. And yes, I'm happy to support you as always.
Uh, that's a question for us.
I mean, there was not really a question. It was more of a segue of thought because I was complimenting William, but he needs like, Oppenheimer. He had a team of researchers. Like we are talking about very deep problems. And then I mentioned the social desirability bias, Keynesian beauty contest. And yeah, a set of better questions like what I think is fair, what is reasonable, what is not unreasonable, what is unreasonable, but I have a reasonable excuse. Is my
Yeah,
reasonableness objective or not? It is very deep, nuanced, opening thought.
Yeah,
yeah. I
these
mean,
are all like,
go ahead.
yeah, I was saying that these are all like, like interesting research questions we've thought a lot about and we continue to think about. If we have a, bigger team of more researchers, that would be great. But, like I do the best I can. It's hard to like completely overcome this sort of social desirability bias in a sort of a crowdsourced system. Like the sort of traditional legal world, they have like professional judges that are like trained and spend their their whole career like thinking of how they can eliminate biases. And there's still a lot of like economics research on sort of how judges think that show that they're still biased in certain ways. But like probably less so than like the general public. But that kind of system is expensive. So because you have to like put in all the resources to train these people. So you wind up
Question
having.
about the reputation. Is the reputation part of the Kleros 2.0? Because over time we could build a reputation of judges, jurors, etc. Like I think a reputation would be a nice feature. So what's the status on reputation?
Yeah, so like because of Kleros 2.0 is more modular, like one could eventually create a more modular sort of like voting system that uses reputation more than in the ways we're currently thinking. In the current sort of thought processes, the most reputational features are in sort of the like how we expect to use SPTs. Like maybe if you've like handled a bunch of good cases, you get like a good juror SPT that increases your odds of being weighted. Maybe if you like commit a blatant violation of the juror code, you get like a bad juror SPT that's associated with your proof of humanity account, so you can't sort of like use a different account to get around the fact that you have this like mark of shame, and that like weights you less or just bans you, frankly, from being a juror, and like so basically what we're currently thinking is kind of like a simple version of reputation that's like not too AIE, not too complex, that we can still reason about in like theoretical models without having like with having like the goal of having like good theoretical arguments about how the system works. Whereas if your
Okay, I've
reputation
got
model
it.
is too complex, it can
Thank you.
become like hard to get that.
That's okay. So you answer my question. So this could be a module to be developed in the future. It means that currently reputation is not on, which is great because I am working on reputation and impact evaluation. I remember when you were talking about the consumer claims and assessment of value. My project is a new definition of value, universal evaluation engine. I've just posted a tweet into the group chat. It's called Base X, and we do impact evaluation. So we specialized in the subjective evaluation whether the damaged good is worth 150 or $200. So I'm afraid I didn't win the Kleros Accelerator or this program, but at least I would like to ask for a honorable mention. I want to have something to put on a CV, and a honorable mention. I mean, you can do it.
I mean, you were part of the boot camp. That you were accepted, so that's already a mention, right? So no.
Okay, that's fair game. That's fair game. Okay, got it.
So
That's fair. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
the logic of this idea of having Kleros 2.0 being modular is that we don't know exactly what will be the requirements coming from customers in the future. So, like, we want to have this flexible, so to be able to adapt and create new modules to adapt to new use cases. So that's the main logic. So Kleros 2.0 is going to be like there's not going to be a Kleros 3.0 soon. I mean, this is going to last for a long time, and this is how it's built to last. And that's why it takes time, but it's the Kleros definitive version for a while. Then, as I said, some modules for one person, one vote, other modules for SVTs. Watch William's talk at the DevCon in Bogota, and he explains how you can use ideas from collective intelligence and the Hong and Page theorem in order to create, drop jurors in a combination that is optimal to get more diversity of views and how this relates to a better, decision making. So we do spend lots of time. William spends lots of time researching this. We have two researchers. We have Jan, we have Jamila. Jan focusing more on mechanism design. Jamila focusing more on legal aspects. I cannot say something. I mean, we might at some point in the future have another researcher on the computer science elements. I still cannot say much more because it's not confirmed yet. But yeah, so we take a lot of pain. And if you compare, as I always say, Kleros 1.0 is like a 4T, model of dispute resolution, decentralized justice. Kleros 2.0 is going to be, I don't want to say a Lamborghini because it's still on being built, but it's going to be on that direction to become something like that. So yeah, and I mean, we have been working at this for 6 years already, and there's a lot of things that get compounding in the sense of all of the interest from people from very top universities collaborating in research with us. I mentioned he's now at Stanford. He's at the best, one of the best, at least, center for legal innovation in the world. He's invited. I mean, I'm invited, and he's invited too to the University of Miami. We have very strong connections to the UK. I mean, you've been there, Mars, at the conference we did at Leicester, so you know that. Yeah, I mean, all of this work done over the years, it's like compound interest. It's compounds. People already know Kleros as the project that built this industry of decentralized justice. I mean, Mexico puts this in a law, right? This is the first time. I mean, a law in Mexico mentions decentralized justice as a legally valid method for solving disputes in Mexico. So all of these things are happening after a lot of work of
Fede,
yeah.
quick question. When you said about the brand recognition, that's amazing. That's phenomenal, and I agree. Compound interest over many years. But I'm think Solana. I mean, Solana is on the rise, and someone can just pull off a fork. So maybe this is a chance for us to, maintain the first mover advantage and very strong brand. What do you think about Kleros on Solana?
I mean, I'm for having Kleros in any place where it can solve problems. So I'm into this to solve real world problems of people, as I mentioned. So if it's Solana, it's Solana. If it's whatever other blockchain, it's. I mean, I think I always say. I mean, I started in the world of blockchain not because I was not because of the technology. I just thought blockchain because it was the way to solve the problem I wanted to solve in the world, which was access to justice. So that's why I started into blockchain. So yeah, I mean, I'm very practical in this. So I will push to have Kleros be where it needs to be to solve the problem it needs to solve, right?
Yeah, I see. Well, I think that this is very time critical. And again, I didn't hear urgency in your voice. Yeah, I hear Kleros everywhere, but yeah, I think that the Kleros like when you have a blockchain, then code is the law. And what is your view on upgradability of the contract? Do you want to do like a one release and contracts are immutable, or do you allow some time for experimentation and making contracts upgradable in the initial stage?
I mean, I guess that's more like a question more for Clement or maybe William has more comments on that. I mean, typically you want your system not to be. I mean, if upgradability brings uncertainty about what's going to happen. I mean, that can be a problem, right? Because that through
Look, this
upgradability,
is double-edged sword and
that's
two
it.
sides of the same coin. Like you can allow for faster innovation when you know you can upgrade the contract. So both versions are correct, and ultimately it's all about balance and being reasonable.
My understanding is that 2.0 is designed to be upgradable, at least in certain aspects and in the initial term. Part of like JB or Chloe would have a better answer to this. I know some aspects of this, but some of the motivation for having this sort of like less fully decentralized version of Kleros 2.0 in the immediate term is that the rollups themselves aren't fully decentralized. They're still like white lists and like who can be a validator or who can in what circumstance like aspects of the validation game depending on sort of what rollup you're on that are not fully decentralized. So as long as you're like already running in a like semi like centralized environment, it makes sense to have the like not the most ambitious version of decentralization for Kleros as well. But in the I think in the long term that's expected to fade away, both hopefully on the rollup level and in Kleros.
Something we have learned also is that Kleros can still provide a service even if not all of the process is fully on chain. So in the case of Lemon, so the enforcement is not done on chain. So Kleros makes a ruling and then a centralized actor accepts that ruling as valid and enforce it. So it's, I mean, if you're a purist, this is not all on chain. How can you trust that they are going to do it? Well, because there are lots of incentives for people to do stuff, even if there's not like an on-chain process for everything. On-chain parts are important for transparency of jury selection process, for transparency of how you count the votes, for transparency of like not tampering with the evidence of cases. So, but then, like the case of Lemon, the enforcement is not done on chain. The case of the SUSI moderator bot, SUSI. So you have a decision made by Kleros, but then the enforcement of banning people in the end, I mean, it's done on Telegram. So Telegram is not a decentralized application. So I think it's important to keep in mind the utility of what we are building and not try to just do everything on chain if this brings. I mean, I think you're on the same thing because we have discussed this, but what problem it solves, and problems are don't always need all of the processes to be on chain. So, and with the work we have been doing with Lemon, we have actually tested this and it works. So Kleros works, solves a problem. Users are happy because they have a place to resort if they have a dispute. The exchange is happy because they can provide users a fair resolution method and they get marketing bonus for that. So there are different ways in which to implement Kleros, and and that's what we're already 1 hour, and I want still Jean, maybe you have also some updates.
Yes, we will announce a partnership with a block explorer probably end of this week. We have the curate incentives program still going on. We revamped this for this month, and there's still a couple of days left to make submissions to curate, submit tokens, submit contract addresses, and also contract domain pairs. And we have a new decentralized exchange that adopted one of the lists, the token lists, as one of the default lists that they offer. It's Swapper. It's the main DEX on Gnosis chain, and they also have, I believe, Polygon and Ethereum mainnet. So that's pretty nice, and now people can see another example of where this information is consumed, and yeah, I think that's it for me.
Awesome. Well, I guess that's it for today. I mean, we've been 1 hour, more than 1 hour. So I mean, thank you all for coming, guys. Thank you for the discussion, and you can listen to this again on, I guess, when we put it on YouTube. Bye, guys. See you.
Bye, everyone.
Sure.
Bye, everyone. See you.